Hello. No, it's not nice to be the guy holding you all for before the lunch. Hope you guys have a good snacks. So, just want to quickly start things off. I'm Rakesh. They introduced me as an AVP, but at heart, I'm a citizen developer ambassador. I help large enterprises strategize their digital transformation, right? So what does Kissflow do? Yes, Kissflow is an AI-powered, low-code, no-code development platform. Our entire ambition is to democratize citizen development as such, right? We want to democratize the entire development path as such, right? So we have worked with large enterprises, of course, right? People like Maria also has been a champion for us. We work with Ethereum, BPI, EDC, UMA, and so on. Working with a lot of these enterprises have given us a lot of insights in the last few years. I'm going to share some of what we have learned as part of this, and also see if we can go deep into one of their use cases and see how they crafted their citizen development as such, right? I'm sure in today's world, everybody would have heard a little bit about citizen development, because even Foresters and Gartners have started creating quadrants for citizen development. But Kissflow has been talking about this for the last many years. From 2012, we've been doing the same, right? We've been talking about how to make work a little bit more pleasant for everybody else, right? So, quickly jumping in, I want to start with a nice analogy, right? Let's take a photography, right? Everybody is familiar with this. So, let's go back about 50, 60 years. If you want to take a photo, take your photo, is a location. I'm sure you have seen, some of you have seen your grandfather or grandmother's photo like that in black and white. So they get up, get all dressed up, they go to a specialized place, only they will be able to take a picture, right? Another 30 years, you have a picture like this. Some of you would have a picture like this, right? Where you can take a picture at your phone, provided you have something which is clickable, right? But you can't do it all the time. You're waiting for your birthday, on a special day, where your uncle or your father brings up a hot camera, it clicks up a couple of pictures, waits for the entire road to get over, then goes and develops these roads, right? Classic birthday memories for me, right? Now, it's a different world, right? We are living in a world where every memory can be special. You never know what the moment is, right? You're on the go in a bus, suddenly you look at your ex-colleague and you want to take a snap with them. I'm sure you do it today as well. You have moved it into a selfie culture, right? All of the space, one thing is common. The need for picture is always been there. But how much and our appetite of going through the cycle has completely changed. Now let's think about the same process for technology, right? You go back in the 90s or late 80s, pretty much everybody is just with papers, right? Printers were the hottest thing selling in the 90s, right? You come a little bit to the early 2000s, of course there'll be some old PCs running in, but if you don't have a computer in the early 2000s in your organization, you would be deemed as a dinosaur, right? You don't have a computer in your company, right? But what I'm sure many of you CEO would have said the same now. In next 5 years, I want to be 100% digital, right? Is it that easy to become 100% digital? When you ask, you will say, hey, you know what? It gives unmatched operational efficiency. Right? I can look at the data anytime I want. It gives fantastic user experience, right? The scalability and the growth is endless. I don't need to look at servers. I don't need to look at how many users are using it. Everything is there in terms of its digital. But you know the truth. It's simply not that easy to become 100% digital, right? To begin with, we don't know how a landscape of application is there itself. we're stuck in a transition, right? COVID, in many ways, would have given you the first highlight saying that, boss, I have to work from remote. Suddenly, I need ABCD things I can't fill the papers, right? Your CEO or anybody in the organization, businesses would be running and coming and saying, can we have something digital where people can do it from their home, right? And what changed was that is it became a reality. When people started to know, okay, this can be done, so it suddenly became a fact that this is going to be the lifestyle as such. We want 100% digital. And then you add the next generation of folks who are going to come in, right? But is it possible to do this, right? Let's just go a little bit deep, right? If you look at any enterprise, there are like broadly 3 levels of applications, right? These are top of the pyramid enterprise applications, which is your core systems, your SAPs, your ERPs, your supply chain tools, and so on, right? Predominantly, this is where your business-sponsored, plus priority implementation by large-scale SIs will come in, right? Yes, you have all the support in the world for this sort of applications. These are like the ROI-driven organization applications. Then you go one level down. You go to department. Already we know that, hey, this is not coming in my list of priorities. I don't have endless developers, right? Then you go one more level down to go to work group applications, right? These are like important for business, but not in the priority for organization. How do you even solve it? I believe still there are a lot of organizations who are thinking they're running an Excel and spreadsheets, but to be honest, some of them are just stuck in paper and lotus notes. Imagine, it's expired for so many years, but still they're stuck up with that, right? And often people think hiring more developers will be the answer for it, but in reality, that's not even a possibility, right? Imagine if you were to suddenly say, all the selfies are going to be taken by professional photographers. I don't really find enough photographers to take these selfies, right? It's not possible. It's not a problem of 10x. So, today, the really good organizations are switching their thought process. I'm not going to write a custom code. Anything on top of it, I'm going to run with a low-code application tool that allows me to build applications quickly and develop it. Anything below certain threshold, I'm going to ask business to do it themselves, right? And this whole thought process of this is what citizen development's beginning itself, right? And often, this topic of who citizen developers are is a bit confusing because even Gartner says this, right? They say citizen developers are employee who creates these applications. But as long as they do it in a tool which is not actively forbidden by IT, it's good. That's like, bro, if you don't get caught, you're okay. That's not what citizen development is actually speaking. So, I'm going to all the verbs here, I'm going to make it into a mathematical equation. Okay? So, if you have unmet business needs, to be honest, which is always going to be the case, and a burnt out IT, in today's scenario, that's also the truth in many of the organizations, you're going to have frustrated business users, right? Business users who are cribbing about, this should have been done months back, this should have been done years back, right? And then you'll find some of these frustrated business users will have motivation to solve the problem, right? They become a problem solver. But if these problem solvers don't have the support from the system, they look at what they have. Because these are resourceful people. They want to solve the problem. It's burning, it's paining, it's making their life hell. They do what is called shadow IT. All the things which they do with Excel, or they just keep it hidden from the management, is called shadow IT and not citizen development. I am pretty sure you go to a procurement team and ask, hey, how do I get this signed? He will give you an Excel. You enter in the first 2 sheets, something will come on the 25th sheet as a solution. And then he says, you go get email upload from your boss, your department head, and send them to me, I will process it. Right? Typical case of what shadow IT is. Right? What it does, it compromises your organization significantly. One and only if these problem solvers are backed by the organization, they will become citizen developers. What do I mean by that, right? A citizen developer is only when business folks build application which the business wants in the way the business wants it to be done, right? That is, it has to be in a specific framework of operation as such, right? In many ways, citizen development is never a technology change. Think about moving from all of this photography analogy, right? We thought it's a technology change which enabled it. No, it's a cultural change which enabled it. That is, we wanted more, right? Citizen development is a cultural change. It's built on three pillars. Of course, technology is one of it, without which we can't go through this change. But we need people, process, right? All of the three together makes a citizen development possible today, right? Okay, I'm going to go a little bit deeper. Look at shadow IT and citizen development, right? So that everybody is on the same picture. If you look at shadow IT, businesses are trying to solve a problem, which will always be the case. They do it on their own. There is zero visibility with IT. Everybody does everything, and IT gets to know nothing until something is on big fire, and you're called to rescue it. There is some compliance issue, and then your audit team comes and says, how the hell you don't know this? And our response will be, how the hell did we know that? Right? It's a very siloed approach, right? And often people think bottom-up is the approach, right? No. If it is a citizen development, it is always a top-down approach. It's a strategic thought process saying that, hey, I want business to solve their problem themselves. I have confidence that they will be able to solve the problem themselves. I am going to help them do that, right? The strategic initiative from top management, there's a governance set by the central IT team who runs the show as such. In many organizations, they built a center of excellence which runs the citizen development program as a whole, right? The alignment of goals and tech initiatives are clear, the seamless integration, and by far the biggest part is, because it's a strategic initiative, the security concerns are evaluated by the right folks who are sitting in the IT as such. If a business tends to evaluate, they don't look at the ifs and buts, right? Because they only look at, is the problem getting solved? Yes, that's good. If that's the case, then shadow IT is not citizen development as such. So if your organization is already saying, hey, we have something citizen development in the organization, you should ask them that. Is it a top-down approach? No. Then it is shadow IT, it's not citizen development. Right? So, is citizen development answer for everything? In reality, there are still few challenges, right? There is a huge knowledge gap, right? Your business users will come from a narrow vision of what their problems are. They may not know how the world solves their problem fully. Number two, shortage of time, right? Number three, security risk. What do you mean by security risk? The platform is already validated. I'm going to give a little bit sneak before I go into a case study as such, right? So, this is what Kissflow does. Anybody can come, give a prompt. Hey, I want to build a purchase request. Okay? The idea is to say, is this the roles which you want? Yes, these are roles. Can you generate it? It will instantly go, analyze, build, and roll out an entire application. The application is not visible, but it's a technical case. If you guys want more about learning this, you should come to a group together. Can you go back to the presentation? So, we can generate this entire applications, processes, and boards in a chip, in a single minute. They don't need to think about database, they don't need to think about the structure of data, how I'm going to keep what, anything as such. Our AI-powered application development will be able to build and completely roll out applications on a chip. And then they can go back, modify it, that 10% of what suits them as such, right? I'm going to give you one of a case study, right? Puma is a 5,000 user organization. They are one of the largest energy producers across the world. They're part of the Trifigura group, who is like $100 billion organization on their own, right? What Puma does is that they service remote places on fuel, especially on aviation side as such, right? Which means that as an organization, they have to be frugal, they have to be resourceful. There was a use case when my spa came and said, they lost a train. So the challenges in the remote places is things like this happen. Everything is in papers, right? So what the challenge they had is that 700 plus challenges which the business wants to solve, but they didn't have enough time for IT to solve it because IT is busy in code building applications as such, right? Now, some of the use cases they want to solve is like aviation interoperation, fueling requests. Every time a flight lands, right, in a remote airport, they want to do a bit of fueling. How do you digitally capture this, right? Now, when they came to us, they said, boss, I have so many places like Papua New Guinea, deep down in Africa like Ghana, Kenya, so on, right, where I'm just stuck with paper, right? And the second challenge is my finance and ops team, which is running centrally, is struggling because all of these manual papers or manual data is coming in and they're not able to comprehend it. Imagine to take all of the data, scan format or anything like that, translate into a digital format and present it to your management as such, right? The third is there is no scope for collaboration. Emails is the best collaboration they had, right? What Kissflow did to them is that we helped them build a CATV program as such, a citizen development program for the last 3 years. We kind of put up a vision of what they want to be in terms of the goal, and then we enable them as their business users to come participate in this accelerated change. You know, once you create these champions, and they will go in turn create other champions. We set up a kind of a continuous movement in their organization. Today they have, this is what their head of digitalization want to say, right? They say, hey, for us, Kissflow enabled us to utilize business language. English is what he meant by that, right? We actually, build English and not to code, right? They don't write a single line of code, yet to build applications, 700 applications built. And you don't need to read anything complex to call yourself a citizen developer. So if you thought business folks with technology background can only become citizen developer, that is also wrong. Citizen developers are actually proper business guys who is motivated to solve it. Then the rest of it, Kissflow will be able to do. Right? If you want to know more about it, you can always visit us at the booth and start your citizen development journey as such. Thank you for your time.